Welcome to Cool Talk and continuing the countdown of my favorite films. The Right Stuff, The Birth of the Space Program. The film really hits home how brave these men were. It's almost laughable that NASA considered other types of men, such as acrobats, to be the first astronauts. But thank goodness Lyndon B. Johnson demanded test pilots. We get to see their wives and how this affected them, how Chuck Yeager, who was the first to break the sound barrier, was left out for not being a college graduate. And most of all, we see the high-flying reaches of space, still impressive today. And again, the courage of men doing for the first time what had scarcely been dreamed of. Number 99, a tie, Braveheart, and A Man Without a Face. I have to admit that I have a problem with the countless historical inaccuracies in this story of William Wallace. Nevertheless, director Mel Gibson always puts passion into his projects. His battle scenes are exciting and groundbreaking for its time. The ending is handled better than can be expected. And as for The Man Without a Face, it was his directorial debut, a simple story of a man horribly disfigured who lives as a recluse. He is shunned by the townspeople who call him Hamburger Face behind his back, and he is consumed by guilt. He befriends a young boy who he tutors, and this awakens his desire to live while giving the boy the father figure that he needs. All is well, at least for a while. A very impressive first directorial debut. Apocalypto, Mel Gibson again, and I have to say this is his epic, best directorial venture. If you want a movie to transport you into another world, another place, well, here it is. You may as well be on another planet. In the final years of the Mayan Empire, as the bigger tribes raid the smaller tribes for slaves and human sacrifice for the gods, it is extremely gory and often unnecessarily grotesque. I would have liked some expose to the Mayan advances in their civilization, but no matter. We do get a thrilling chase as Mayan warriors hunt down a fisherman named Jaguar Paw. This is one of those films where you can say that you haven't seen anything like it before. Catch it. The Town. Ben Affleck directed Argo, which won Best Picture. But The Town is even better. It follows a group of bank robbers. It has thrilling heist, shootouts, and car chases. One bank robber falls for a girl that they take hostage, and the gang is now in danger of falling apart. There are betrayals. Ben Affleck captures the feel of Boston and coaxes good performances out of his cast. This is one of the best films of 2010. A tight film, compelling, exciting, and assured. The Terminator. It's hard to imagine that the original Terminator was a small-budget film with a relatively unknown director and a less-than-bankable star. But is the movie good? No, it's great. Naturally, time travel makes for some great ideas, and watching a villain who is relentless and never gets frustrated and will not stop until he kills you is exciting, just to even think about it. There's strong character development by the other stars, and then add Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was born to play this robot. It's hard to imagine that the original Terminator was going to be played by O.J. Simpson. I'm not even kidding. But the real treat was director James Cameron, who gives his all. It's no accident that in the Terminator series, the best Terminator films were the ones directed by him. Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Nick Nolte plays a homeless person who spends his days with his only friend, his dog. When the dog leaves, he attempts suicide by jumping into a Beverly Hills pool owned by a multimillionaire played by Richard Dreyfuss. And here's where it gets interesting, as he cons the whole family into thinking that he has some kind of wisdom. And what is his wisdom? Basically to tell people what they want to hear. They move him in unknowingly, buying the only thing that rich people cannot buy, poverty, and the sense of idleness and carefree state of mind of not caring. The cast is a dream team, and as one critic stated, this proves that the rich can be just as poor as we are. Well, in some ways. It's hilarious, and believe me, I can't stress this enough, this is a sheer delight. The Matrix. Imagine if you were told that your whole life and everyone and everything you've ever seen was implanted in your brain as you lay in an incubator feeding power to some damn machine. That your whole life is a lie. That you had to decide whether to continue living this lie or wake up and fight back. What would you do? The Matrix is a mishmash of philosophy and religion loaded with symbolism, but it's also a wonderful display of Asian-style martial arts and special effects. So much so that this is the first film to win special effects Oscars against Star Wars. Catch it. Shrek. It's no secret that a good cartoon entertains children and throws a few inside jokes to the adults. Shrek, however, it's different. It's just a good story told very well, and the voice acting is great by Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz. They give you a glimpse of the vulnerability and the insecurities they each have. The humor comes from their characters, not from slapstick humor. Unusual for an animated film where the final climax is not some funny car chase. It's Shrek, running towards what could be his last chance for happiness. Is it really for children? Yes, it's for the child in all of us. Iron Man. A movie about a man wearing a metal suit would not be appealing without the good, charismatic actor that we have here, Robert Downey Jr. He is perfect as the arrogant, boozing, but brilliant playboy Tony Stark. So much so that in less than 5 minutes of seeing him in action, we don't even think that he wasn't a bankable star at the time. And it's harder to believe that he was paid less than Terrence Howard, who played the original War Machine. Iron Man launched the Marvel Avengers series and is still going strong. And thanks in great part to this film that jump-started, and thank you to director Jon Favreau, who took the story seriously but kept it light. The Bourne Ultimatum. Director Paul Greengrass's style of fast editing and sharp camera movements have been imitated but never equaled. He services the story by placing the camera in the center of the action, most notably in the car chases. The movie begins with a suspenseful cat and mouse game that is amazingly long, but it never falters. And add to that the grit that Matt Damon brings to the role. Paul Greengrass directs a spy thriller about an agent who is trying to uncover the truth about his identity while also avoiding being killed in the process. It's the best of the Jason Bourne series. Catch Me If You Can, one of the most famous con men this country has ever known, who posed as a pilot, a doctor, and a lawyer while stealing over $2 million from Pan American Airlines. This character needed to be played with charm, and it was, thanks to Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, Steven Spielberg took a break from a string of serious films to provide us with light fun, but don't be fooled. Behind this comedy lies sadness, as Frank Abagnale attempts to put his family together, but actually ruptures it completely. Abagnale's father is played by Christopher Walken, sadly playing a man who loses out on what he wanted the most, a normal father-son relationship. And Tom Hanks, as the FBI agent and also a divorced parent, unknowingly becomes his surrogate father. Life is Beautiful, directed by and starring Robert Benigni. I admit that I didn't enjoy the first half of the movie that much. I didn't think it was that funny. But the second half ascends to greatness as Roberto and his family end up in a concentration camp during World War II. To spare his son the horrors of the Holocaust, he pretends it's all a game and the people that are gone missing are actually hiding. Is it possible to make a comedy about the Holocaust without being offensive? It's a fine line, but Roberto Benigni pulls it off. By implying and not showing the horrors, Benigni is able to get laughs. His character achieves his own brand of heroism, using all that he can to save his wife and his son. Humor and quick thinking. Pure delight. Spanglish. Adam Sandler is a family man, a chef, and all-around nice guy who passively-aggressively deals with his wife's toxic, shrill personality. When a Central American maid and her daughter come into his life, he rediscovers his smile, at least for a while. The cast is great, especially the child actors, and Paz Vega as the maid is a pleasure to watch. She's lovable, loves her kids, but actually envies the lifestyle of Deborah and the good husband that she wished she had. The film does display the love and protectiveness that parents can have without being corny. The ending is not neatly resolved like other movies, it's more like life. It's also a wake up call for all of them involved to perhaps guide them to be more open and more honest. It's a slice of life. Flight. When I saw the trailer to this movie, I thought it was going to be a court thriller about a cool jet crash, but it's not. It's a character study, and nobody plays characters better than Denzel Washington as an alcoholic pilot who saves over 200 lives, but ironically is now in danger of going to jail and having his alcoholism exposed. Denzel is masterful. By turns defiant, angry, sad, troubled, confused, and scared, he lies to everybody, especially himself. The film is full of religious symbols and many spiritual characters who each in turn push this pilot toward a shot at redemption. Fargo, one of the director's Coen brothers' most acclaimed films. William Macy plays a weak man who wants to get out from under his bullying father-in-law, so he devises a plan by hiring men to kidnap his wife with the intent to steal money from his father-in-law. It's a simple plan that goes horribly wrong, but the winter landscapes are beautiful, and get ready for the Oscar-winning performance of Frances McDormand. Rain Man. Tom Cruise plays Charlie Babbitt, who discovers that he has an older brother named Raymond who is autistic. Feeling resentful because his deceased father left his inheritance to Raymond, Charlie kidnaps Raymond in hopes of getting his fair share. Now, Hoffman is wonderful in this role, going through nervous tics, word games, little rituals, temper tantrums, and whatever he can to get through the day. But Tom Cruise is exceptional too. We discover that Charlie, like their father before them, is also emotionally detached. Finding his vulnerability and learning to love somebody who can't really love him back, Charlie becomes a better person. Full Metal Jacket, a movie that follows several Marines through basic training and then during the Vietnam War. The troops first lose their hair, then their names, and they become a unit. Some become killing machines, but some lose their minds. Veterans have said it's the most realistic portrayal of basic training that they have ever seen. At the halfway point, the movie loses steam, but it picks up at the end. Now, director Stanley Kubrick parallels that male sexual aggression is tied into our war psyche. He even implies that it's trained into these troops. I don't know if that's true. Now, the climax of the film, where a Vietnamese sniper traps two Marines and the men have to decide how to rescue them, is one of the most suspenseful moments I have ever had in any movie. It's ultimately a little bit too little too late and the film becomes anticlimactic, but like most Kubrick films, it begs for more viewings. Lethal Weapon. Rarely has a cop buddy movie ever been done so well. Danny Glover and Mel Gibson plays Murtaugh and Riggs, two Los Angeles police who bust a drug ring. Murtaugh is a happy family man, and Riggs, he's burnt out and suicidal. The action is relentless. There's a thrill every minute. There have been 4 Lethal Weapon films loaded with excitement, action, and playful banter. Now, some Blade Runner fans will get angry that I find Prometheus better. I'm going to give Blade Runner an honorable mention, but I did find it slow. Both films are Ridley Scott films, and both have robot droids with artificial intelligence that develop emotion and beg the question, what makes us human? Prometheus deals with our beliefs in the afterlife, our fear of death, and the search for immortality. We have a plucky heroine in Noomi Rapace and a sad and defiant robot in Michael Fassbender. The film went against expectations and wasn't marketed well, but now that the smoke has cleared, don't watch it as an alien film. Watch it as it stands on its own. 48 Hours. Now here's an action buddy film where the buddies can't stand each other. Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte play a con and a police officer trying to bust a drug ring. This was before Beverly Hills Cop, and Murphy proved to have star quality. It was a pleasure watching these two actors go at each other, bicker and fight Twists and turns, sharp action, exciting chases. What more can you ask for? Well, don't stop there. Continue watching. Click on my playlist and watch my favorite films of all time. This is Cool Talk.